Greetings, everyone, and welcome. August the 11th, 2025. It's approaching 9 p.m. in the evening here in Ukraine, and of course, the same time in Moscow. We are expecting potentially heavy air attacks tonight, but I want to focus on the next few minutes on what you see on the thumbnail. And yes, I am submitting to you that on the press conference that Donald Trump just had, after speaking about crime in D.C., he then began to speak openly about Russia and Ukraine and the summit. And I'm here to tell you that right now, on many of those talking points, Ukraine and Russia are actually in agreement because Donald Trump's position has been completely exposed, and we see what is going to be coming at this summit. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, and commenting. Yes, Zelenskyy saying he is 100% wrong. Putin, on that, I actually agree. Now, coming out of different sources that I follow, both in Ukraine and Russia, that I trust explicitly, Ukrainian consensus is I thought we were supposed to be talking about imposing sanctions and tariffs, and we're dealing with the master of the deal, and I'm the greatest negotiator. And they are asking after that press conference, what did I just witness? On the Russian side, they're asking the same question. That is why I am saying there is a sentiment of agreement here. They're asking, the Russians are, where does he get his information from? Now, I will throw this out for you. Donald Trump actually tells us where he gets his information from. Finally, we're going to hear it. That'll be the last clip I play for you. President Putin is supposed to negotiate with the one who accuses him of murder. And that is what the Russians are asking this evening. And you will see it with the Donald Trump clips that are coming. I have them all ready for you. 6 of them. We'll jump into them. A little comment. Facts only. You make your observations and you make your decisions. Here are the statements. First of all, Donald Trump started by speaking, we're going to be having a meeting next week. He then goes back to the beginning of the war. And if it hadn't been for him and the Javelins, Russia would already have everything. And some general made a big mistake. And I'm sure he's dead now. That's what Vladimir does. Are you kidding me? You're the president of the United States. That's what you say?
So ultimately, I'll have a meeting next week. I had a great relationship with him, considering the fact that, I was not nice to him because of the pipeline. I ended the pipeline. I also gave the Javelins. Do you ever hear of a Javelin? Javelin is called a tank buster. They say that Obama gave them sheets and I gave them Javelins. If it weren't for me, all those tanks that were destroyed at the first days of the war because the tanks got stuck in the mud, some commander made a better they would have been in Kiev in 4 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Going down the highway. But a Russian general made a brilliant decision to go through the farmland instead. And they just had torrential rains, and the rains were so bad, and it was mud, and those tanks got stuck in the mud. I don't know who that general is, but knowing Vladimir, he's probably not around any longer because all those tanks were stuck in the mud and they went along with the Javelins. I gave them the Javelins. You know that, right? I gave them Javelins. They gave them sheets.
Sir, you are the president of the United States, and you're talking about a foreign head of state eliminating his generals. Also, with the information they would have taken Kyiv in 4 hours, just spewing Russian propaganda talking points before he is headed to this big summit in Alaska. It's really disappointing, to be quite honest with you, that this is the type of information that comes from the leader of the free world, Donald Trump, the president of the United States. Now, he goes on to talk about, I'm going to tell Vladimir to end it.
So I'm going in to speak to Vladimir Putin, and I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war. You got to end it. And he wasn't going to mess with me. This war would have never happened. We had a discussion about it one time, and we never had that discussion again. Would have never happened.
So that's the talking points that Donald Trump is going in with. You got to end it. You got to end it because it would have never happened without me. The reality is, most of the conversation is going to be about future business deals, Arctic exploration, and what is the possible way to end it there in Ukraine so that we can get on about making money and getting rich, rich, rich. But he doesn't stop there. He then goes on talking about the parameters, and Donald Trump just gave himself an out. Here it is.
Go and see the parameters. Now, I may leave and say, good luck, and that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now. But I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelenskyy.
So there you have. He's going to call Zelenskyy and the other European leaders. You know, I'm going to go and see what the parameters are. I mean, if I don't like them, I'm just going to say, okay, good luck. What happened to the one that wants to have the Nobel Peace Prize? I'm just going to tell them good luck because I really can't do anything with this because, you know, it's obvious that, you know, others have said that Putin wants all of Ukraine. In fact, I was one of those people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best foreshadowing of what's going to happen on Friday, coming directly out of Donald Trump's mouth. And once again, I stand by the thumbnail and the title. And that is, for sure tonight, Ukrainians and Russians are agreeing on one thing. Donald Trump, as far as this mediator, negotiator, completely out of his league. Number 4, he talks about the prime land, and 88% of the people want a deal inside Ukraine. First of all, well, let's hear the video and then I'll respond.
Occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine. I'll tell you this, I've seen a poll coming out of Ukraine. 88% of the people would like to see a deal made.
Okay, first of all, Hexeth is hilarious there because let's talk about the poll first. First of all, there are no polls in Ukraine. Yes, I'm in Ukraine. There are no polls that 88% of the people want to just have some deal and get this over with. People want their nation, their future. They do not want to be dominated by the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin. Are they tired of war? Absolutely. Are they exhausted? 100%. Are they quitting? No. Except, you know, Trump sitting there looking, you know, I saw a poll and it was, what's a good number? Oh, 88% of the people. Where do you get that information from? I think we know in just a moment. And then he talks also about the prime land. Well, sir, when you negotiated the rare earth mineral deal that has been signed, you should have recognized that most of the valuable rare earth metals that you want that are under the ground are occupied by Russia. You should have had a little more understanding in that before you're signing deals. Now, he then pushes the envelope way too far, talking about President Vladimir Zelenskyy and democracy. This is, you got to hear this.
A little bothered by the fact that Zelenskyy was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap because there'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody.
Okay, I know that through Russia, source, and I know that through conversations with everybody. First of all, that's called democracy, not dictatorship. You see, an elected president by the people is for the people. That's the role of a president. You're looking at people like Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un and just worshiping the ground they walk on. You're trying to make the White House just look like the Kremlin with all the gold and ornate design. And appearance is everything. Zelenskyy is leading by example. Yes, it is in the Constitution. Ukraine cannot give away land. The president, the office of the president, and even the Rada does not have the right to give away land. It must be brought before the Ukrainian people because it is Ukrainians' land. Maybe, sir, you need to take a lesson from the Constitution of Ukraine and refresh yourself on how democracy works and what a real president does, not a dictator. Now, finally, the source is finally revealed. Where is Donald Trump getting most of his information from? Sure, those that are in his ear, of course, the Kremlin, but there's got to be one more. We found him. He tells it himself. Victor Orban.
I asked a question to a very, very smart man that some people like and some people don't like. Victor Orban, right? From Hungary, the head of Hungary. And he's in that same area and knows the two countries very well. I said, this was before Biden didn't do anything to get us out of it. He could have gotten us out of that. It would have never happened. I said, so can Russia be beaten by Ukraine? He looked at me like, what a stupid question. He said, Russia's a massive country, and they win their country, and they win their life through wars. They fight wars. That's what they do. He said, China beats you with trade. Russia beats you with war. That was a very interesting statement.
That was a very interesting statement. He then goes on to talk about Napoleon and talks about Hitler and World War II and all the wars. And you know what? The source, Orban, that was an interesting statement that Victor Orban, of course, Orban is in Putin's back pocket. And now we know that in addition to the Kremlin, in addition to those that are in his ear, those MAGA right-wingers that hate, far right-winger MAGA narrative that hate Ukraine, we also have that Hungarian narrative with Orban in his ear nonstop. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're at. And I'll tell you, I'll stand by my thumbnail tonight 100% behind my title. This is an exposition. We have reality spoken by the President of the United States in regard to the upcoming summit, what he expects from it. And on most of these talking points, Russia and Ukraine actually agree. Who on earth is Donald Trump, and what on earth is he saying? Thank you. I look forward to your comments on this one. You guys be blessed. We'll stay on top of it. I can tell you right now, looking over here at this screen, we do have air alarms in Chernihiv region, Sumy region, and it's expected that it could be a potentially heavy night here in Ukraine. We'll keep you posted. Be blessed, and we'll be back at you.